Even at my hedge fund job, like I was crushing it because I knew who was going to call me that day. It's like an image would flash, or I would just see things like numbers, I would see letters. It was just like a knowing. And I think everyone has that, truly. People thought my videos were so interesting that they went out of their way to Google me, find my dusty website, and buy this thing, not knowing that I'm not actually open for business. People will find you. Like, they will find a way to get on your calendar. They'll knock on your door. They'll like hunt you down. Follow your hunch. Like, it may not be immediate, but it's coming up for a reason. It might pay off in like 5 years or like 8 years. Anything negative can be transmuted if you choose to see it differently.
Hey friends, it's Tracy Holland from Potential to Powerhouse. Thanks for joining us today. Let's jump in. HeyJune Jeon, welcome to Potential to Powerhouse. We are in for a huge treat. Everyone, if you've ever wondered if your instincts and your intuition are not matching up to what your head tells you, what your heart tells you, or what's happening in your astrological chart, today is the day that we're going to demystify the whole process. And we have an expert in the field, but also just in life. HeyJune, you are the person that people come to unpack the confusing, life stopping at times, business stopping, personal stopping moments that we are all caught with, our pants down, the rug pulled out from under us. Those moments, you have an innate gift, I think, gifted from God to you, as well as incredible instincts. And today we're going to talk about how you do what you do and how we can navigate some of the questions that we have about how astrology overlays into our lives and how it plays a role. So, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you.
So, if you could hindsight, HeyJune, with your younger self today, if you could fly back in time and give yourself some guidance on what it is that you're going to do with your life for your career, would you have had any idea that you would be as prolific as you are in helping people navigate their chart and their lives and some of the intuitive things that you're gifted with and you help others navigate? Would you have ever imagined that this is what you do?
No, no, not at all. I always wanted to go into a creative field, but to me that was like art, painting, video making, storytelling. I never thought it would be this, like telling people stories about themselves instead of my own. So, because that's what I'm really doing. I'm really helping people understand their own stories, you know?
And so, in your household, you were raised to lean toward finance. Was it like a highly education driven regimen? Go get your degree, go to a great school, because you did work on Wall Street at one point.
My dad's a diplomat. He is extremely, your traditional Korean man, very education focused. You follow the protocol, you do all the right things that your grandparents told you to do, your great grandparents told you to do. So my artistic dreams were squashed pretty young. Like at 13, my parents were like, "What are you doing? Don't even think about that." They're also both published writers, so they were like, "Maybe you can be a journalist." But that's as well as it's gonna be. Like, they really want me to go into, yeah, like business, maybe law, like. So my family's very like linguistically talented, and that's just in general what they want me to go into. I ended up going to business school, and I was very much of like the, well, I love my friends, I want to follow the crowd. So from Michigan, I went to New York with all my friends and ended up in Wall Street without even thinking like, do I even like this stuff? It's like I had a good GPA. I got, I understood the subject like finance. So I ended up in Wall Street. I worked at JP Morgan. And then I got interviewed and gone to one of the top quant funds. So I was commuting from Manhattan to Connecticut for some time and just absolutely hating my life. And yeah, that was like my mid to late 20s. And throughout that whole process, I didn't give up on my artistic dreams. I signed up for like film classes at night, like screenwriting classes. So when everyone was like going out and like drinking and, that classic like New York lifestyle, I wasn't doing that. I was spending a lot of free time taking art classes, doing movie stuff with my movie friends, and which became like a really good bridge to my next career. But yeah.
Like, when did you know you had a gift for seeing things that are in the unknown, or maybe some people would say in the quantum or futurist, future leaning things? Like, what was your first indication that you knew before other people knew?
I had no idea. I always just knew stuff, but I thought I was lucky with my guesses. I know it's a strange answer. I'm not one of those people that can like hear voices. Like I
Mhm.
don't speak to the dead. Like I'm not a medium. So, and that kind of paranormal type gift manifests very differently. For me, it was just like it's like an image would flash, or I would just see things. Like I would see numbers, I would see letters. It was just like a knowing, and I think everyone has that truly. But it's just a matter of trusting it in a very detached way.
And so, do you remember what did you kind of start in the process by giving people advice or telling them what your hunches were, or how did it start in terms of your
Yes, that's a really good question. I had no intention or desire of like helping people or giving people advice. None of that. It all goes back to I want to do art. I want to tell stories, and I came across Frank Andrews. He's John Lennon's psychic. He's like a very well known tarot reader in New York City. So long story short, I became his protege because where I was working was near his neighborhood, and he was always like sitting like in front of his like doorsteps, kind of weird. But we started talking. He's like, "Oh, I teach classes." I didn't know who he was. He was like, "Well, I teach classes. I get bored and I don't want to read anymore, but I can teach tarot. Do you want to learn?" And so I started learning tarot from the perspective of, oh, maybe this can help me write better screenplays.
Hmm.
So me getting into this field was a complete like detour. Like I started out want to do storytelling, writing art, and learning tarot to do that. But then I got really good at it. I mean, I was doing a lot of party stuff, like party readings. But the reason why I feel like I was meant to do this too is because even at my hedge fund job, like I was crushing it because I knew who was going to call me that day. Like people who used to work with me back then know this about me. I would just be like, I think this family fund's going to call today. And so then I would just like prepare all this material and then they would call and then I had it ready to go. So it's interesting. Like it all kind of happened at the same time throughout my 20s. The Frank Andrews, the screenplay stuff, the my hedge fund career where I got really lucky, and then the pandemic hit, which took me to the next level.
Oh my gosh. So for those of us who are sitting here thinking, okay, and I think about it, hey June, some of the luckiest deals I've gotten, or some of the biggest business opportunities I've gotten, have come first from this hunch
Yeah.
that said, I think I'm going to host a party for the head buyer of Trader Joe's and have them to the house because I think they would enjoy it. We can bring some really interesting people. And there's just this kind of different way of feeling about the opportunity or the person that brings you into a different way of conceiving
Yeah.
of a way business could be done.
Yeah.
And I follow that hunch. And every time I've done that, it has turned into something magical.
Mhm.
And so, is it that kind of feeling? Is that how you would describe the feeling, like knowing someone's going to call?
There's a couple of different things, a couple of different indicators. So for me, the hunch manifested like the way you're describing, like an idea or a thought, like, hey, this feels like a good idea. But I would say for people who can't really tell what a hunch is, like another way to test it is like, does it excite you? Like, is it something that genuinely like lights you up? That's usually a really good indicator. It's not just like a random, like, this feels like a good strategy. No, it's more like, would I enjoy doing that? Would I enjoy talking to this person? That's the fastest, I think, indicator that there's something there. And it may not work out with that person. It may not work out with that business opportunity. But the essence of it remains that you felt good about it. So then the vessel is created. That means someone else can come in and fill that idea.
Hmm.
So it's never about the who, what, how. It's more about kind of like the hedge fund example I just gave you. Maybe I already had the analysis done, so maybe someone else could have called
Right.
that I could have still used the analysis for,
Right.
right?
So
Yeah.
in that case, when you started having success and financial success doing the hedge fund or working and being anticipatory of these calls and kind of ready, which meant you could capitalize on those situations and then monetize that, the more successful you became, when you say the pandemic came, did that just kind of catapult you into this role in a more full time way? Or how did you tell your parents you were breaking up with Wall Street and pivoting into this other area?
So this is where like following your feel good hunch is so important because remember I spent like 10 years just making videos, writing stuff with no pay. I did it purely just for my own sanity because I hated my job. And then the pandemic hit and now we were all locked down. We had too much free time on our hands. And I was like, okay, well, and I had moved into my own like apartment, so I was by myself. So I was like, why don't I just like make videos? It's cringe and it's funny because it's like a kids app, but now I think everyone like recognizes as like a business app, TikTok. So at the time, I had heard about this app and I knew my coworkers were not on it. They were way too serious people, and I was like, this is a great opportunity for me to just post whatever. Just post my craziest stories, post like, practice editing because I love like film editing, like practice my edits. And one day I woke up, like a video had like 30,000 views.
What?
Yeah, and it was like a 5-second stupid clip. And fast forward like a week later or maybe 2 weeks later, I woke up with like a 300,000 followers. And this is where like, overnight success is like a myth because in social media or in TikTok, it doesn't matter what platform, the name of the game is volume. Like,
Yes.
yes, quality absolutely matters, but it's also volume. Like, how much can you create and post at the same time as humanly as possible?
Right.
So, because I was so used to these like dreary film editing apps that take you forever, I
Yeah.
had gotten really good at getting fast and fast and fast. And with TikTok, I was even faster because it's like a kids app. Like, they give you shortcuts and stuff.
Right.
So I was pumping out videos and I'm very much of like a pattern follower. So it's like, okay, this video went viral, which was actually about tarot. So I was like, let me just make 10 more tarot videos.
Interesting.
And this is another crazy story, but I woke up like a few weeks after that with like a bunch of like orders. I know you know that feeling of like you wake up and you get orders and you're like, wait, what? Like your very first online order.
Yes.
I was getting orders of like my readings, like the $100, $200 readings that I set up like 2 years ago because I was just like playing around with Squarespace. But nobody touched, nobody bought. But people thought my videos were so interesting that they went out of their way to Google me, find my dusty website, and buy this thing, not knowing that I'm not actually open for business.
Oh my gosh.
And I didn't even like link it to my TikTok profile. So I always tell people like you don't have to optimize your link tree. If you're good, people will find you. Like they will find a way to get on your calendar. They'll knock on your door. They'll like hunt you down.
Wow.
At that point I was at a startup. I was working for the CEO as like a data analyst and it got to a point where I was like I had to choose. Like do I keep doing this like and I was out for a promotion.
My
And I had to
gosh.
choose like, do I take this promotion or do I do readings? Like I keep getting these bookings and I like making videos because that was the whole point. Like that's what I wanted to do with like, so much to a point where like I was okay with not getting paid for 10 years, but now I was getting paid, in a weird way. So I think like 2 months after the pandemic, I was like, I can't keep doing all these readings and go to my 9 to 5. Let me just quit my job. And that's how it happened. And then it was like the perfect storm. I had a bunch of like people call me, like media outlets calling me. I was on Fox Business. I should probably know his name. I forget now, but he called me to ask me about the stocks because everyone was worried about like the market at the time. So yeah, so it was like when it rains, it pours, right? I was going viral on TikTok. I was interviewing with all these people. I was having all these celebrities reach out for a reading because I practiced so much with my readings too. Like, yes, I have like a baseline of the intuition, but the tarot really helped.
Yes.
So then I was, I guess, like lucky enough that a lot of people were like coming back saying like, "Hey, this happened. Hey, that happened. Can you read for me again?" Like, because that's another thing, right? Like, you can't be fake with these types of things. Like,
You cannot.
you can't.
It
Yeah.
time tells all stories.
Yeah, yeah, and there's a lot of phony readers out there. There's a lot of scammers, like,
Yeah.
so reputation is everything, and so the 10 years worth of stuff behind the scenes, like, really paid off in, like, 3 months, and that was, like, 4 or 5 years ago. Now, for my parents, my mom was pretty cool with it. My mom was like, "You know what? I always knew that you hated your job, so I support you no matter what." But my dad was very upset. He was like, "Well, now you're definitely not gonna be dating. Now men are definitely gonna think you're weird." Like, all this like very like patriarchal
Interesting.
traditional, yeah, like how you're perceived and how you're regarded. Like that's all he cares about. So when I was on Forbes, I sent him the news and he wasn't even happy. He was like, "This means nothing to me. It says the word psychic on it. This is
Oh
taboo."
gosh.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, that's tough. Have they come
yeah.
full circle now? Has your father?
He's happy now, but I think he's also accepted it, that's why. He's like,
Okay.
"Look, like, in a perfect world, I still want you to, like, have a normal job, but I'm happy that you're happy." That's where he's at now.
And have you done a reading for him?
No.
Okay.
I don't even think he'll take it even if I offer.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't think he'll want it. So that's what I mean by, like, yeah, follow your hunch, like, it may not be immediate, but it's coming up for a reason. It might pay off in, like, 5 years or, like, 8
Right.
years.
Hey, gorgeous friends. Just for a second, if you would do me a huge favor, if Potential to Powerhouse has touched your heart, inspired you, made you pause, made you think differently, been a resource for you, would you do me the favor to right now take a second to give us a rating and review? It makes such a difference, and we so appreciate hearing from you. Thank you. High five.
And so, in terms of the other piece of advice, would you say that it's recommended, or are you encouraging of people to keep putting the work in even if they're not getting paid, if it makes them passionate, that eventually, like a flower, there will be an opening and a blooming of that flower at some point? There will be. And so everything that you're doing up until that time is prep, or is investment. It's the fertilizer for the growth. Is that how you would perceive that?
Yes, because and this is where I think I differ a little bit, maybe from, like, other intuitives or other readers, but, I mean, nothing is set in stone. Like, I don't care how good you are as a reader, like, nothing is set in stone. Everything's always changing. And things change because your energy changes. And your energy, honestly, is electricity that's fueled by joy and happiness and all that. So the more you put your energy and joy into something without being attached to the outcome, and that's the hard part, if you can do that, it builds momentum in like the ether.
Interesting.
I've seen it happen with a lot of my clients actually. And yeah, you have to ask yourself the question like, am I willing to do this even if I don't get a payoff? And if the
Mhm.
answer is no, then yeah, you probably don't have the patience to create that thing in the ether.
So this is very wise. What you're saying is so important. So for those of us who are doing something out of contraction, right? And I think of it this way. I think of that, that gut feeling in your solar plexus where you go, ugh, I'm doing this. I'm hunkered down. I'm like in holding my
Mhm,
energy. And that may be getting on a call with a business partner. It may be showing up and doing the work that you dread.
mhm,
It may be in a relationship with your spouse where you're no longer aligned and you've been together for a decade or longer and you no longer are aligned energetically. Do you believe it's possible to create greatness out of that contraction? Or is that feeling of lightness and expansion, that feeling of kind of like, I'm putting all my joy, all my sparkles, everything that I love into this without the expectation of an outcome,
mhm,
but I'm just leaning in energetically in a more expanded, open way?
mhm.
Is there something great to be connecting with or creating or building out of contraction? I'm curious about what you think about that.
Yes, yes, I do because you can always, well, first of all, this is very situational, but that's a very good question. But to answer your specific question, I would say yes, because contraction or expansion, that's just your own interpretation. It's how you choose to see it. So it's kind of like paying a short term price for long term benefit, right? Like, yeah, short term it sucks right now, but this is what it's required for long term healing. Kind of like going to the gym. It's like, okay, you go to the gym one day, you don't feel good, doesn't mean you quit. No, that contraction initially could be good for your health in the long run. So it's all about how you frame it and how you see it and how you kind of transmute that like contraction energy. Relationship is a bit of a different ball game because at that point there's a whole other person with their own free will, and it requires a level of like transparency and communication and like mutual growth. So it's honestly it's our hardest, it's our biggest teachers, our partners. Like anybody in our life, that's always the hardest one. But as a general rule of thumb, anything negative can be transmuted, if you choose to see it differently, for sure.
That is blowing my mind. So just because I see it negatively or I have a contracting feeling or reaction, that is a choice to see it that way.
Yep. Yep.
And it could be
Absolutely.
my greatest teacher, my greatest gift, the biggest, the most amazing thing. I just need
Yep.
to take a step back, change the goggles, and see it differently.
Yep. And in fact, if you don't do that, you could suffer some health consequences. This is like another thing that I've been seeing, like people who like really stay bitter, resentful, angry for really valid reasons, by the way. Like I don't blame them. But if they stay in that situation and don't see the lesson in it or the goodness in it or reframe it, um, I've noticed they get really sick. So it's again, it's about just like constantly moving that energy as much as you can.
Wow. Okay. So that was very helpful because I myself can use this lesson in my own personal life by seeing things differently or maybe reframing
Yep.
some of what's happening as a gift instead of just feeling this overwhelm of panic or pain or lesson and
Hmm.
heaviness in that. And so, hey, June, when you think about the tools and your mentor teaching you to use tarot versus using astrology, for example, as a tool, like what is your go to tool for helping you see in others their story or their current situation?
I have a couple things. My primary tool is tarot. It's not because I care so much about the cards. It's more like it helps me formulate my thoughts better. And tarot cards have numbers on it, so that helps me with like timing, date and stuff like that. But I also use astrology because that astrology essentially is just like an interpretation of like the archetypes. So if you enter a certain like transit, like a Pluto transit, Neptune transit, Uranus transit, then we can interpret, okay, archetypally, how will this play out in your life? It's going to be very different from like, I know you're Sagittarius rising. Doesn't mean another Sag rising is going to go through what you're going to go through, but you're going to go through a similar archetypal journey of maybe loss, grief, whatever, but the details look different. So I like to use astrology again for the storytelling purposes, and storytelling is really healing. Tarot's a storytelling tool, astrology is a storytelling tool. It just helps people like reframe the story they're going through because Uranus, the planet of chaos, is actually a really cool planet because it's also a really innovative planet. So yeah, do you want to call what you're going through chaos or do you want to call it innovation? That completely depends on how you choose to see things. There's always a higher and a lower octave. So sorry, just to go back to your question, number one is tarot. The second one is astrology because they both help me with storytelling. And then the third is numerology, the
Hmm.
numbers. Yeah.
And what is that? Tell us a little more about that.
So numerology is the vibration of each number, 1 through 9. I believe that the language of the universe is numbers. So it's everything. It's kind of funny because you can use an applied numerology to like everything, not just birthdays, but real estate addresses. That's a really big one.
Interesting.
I can look at somebody's address and I can immediately guess what their life is like. And then sometimes I'll
What?
ask them, yeah, I'll ask them like, hey, like, is this happening? They're like, how did you know? If I see a couple moving into a 5, I'm like, were you guys, well, I wouldn't actually ask them, but I would find out that they got divorced within a year because 5 is the number of like exit, of breaking
Oh,
a pattern.
crud. I got to write this down. This is incredible. So you're like, if you're moving into a 5, you're donezo.
You're donezo. Now there's like alphabets can be changed to numbers. So if you live in 1A, that's actually a 2, not a 1, because 1 plus A is a 1, the first letter of the alphabet. So if you add all those things up and it becomes a 5, yeah, that means like change. So a lot of what I do is kind of interpret like these like hidden vibrations that people carry. And yeah, if you constantly get cheated on, check if you live in a 3. And usually 99% of the time you live in a 3. And so the real work is, it's not that you got unlucky with the address. You chose the address. Again, let's reframe. You chose it. Why did you choose it? There's something about you that was attracted to that house. Like, were you stuck in a marriage or relationship you hated? Then maybe your soul wanted out a little bit and wanted to be free and have fun until it wasn't fun anymore. So now you have to switch back to a different number. So those are the three main things that I use for storytelling and like empowerment purposes. Like, okay, let's use the address and all these things as a reflection of what's going on inside of you.
Hey folks, I'm excited to share with you the launch and announcement of Inner Fifth. Are you a female entrepreneur seeking a place to find your people? If you want to hear from experts on how to build your business and create more wealth, better relationships, find your purpose, and enhance your health, go check out innerfifth.com to learn more about the high performance community for growth driven female entrepreneurs who are seeking a way to connect with each other. We are all about moving through issues, upscaling, and wealth creation. If this calls to you, check out innerfifth.com, click on learn more, and come and join us.
So I've got to ask, in dating, going back to your dad's concern, you're now in a relationship with someone.
Yeah.
Was there a moment where you thought, how do I explain to him what I do? Or did he know coming in?
He had no idea. And what's really interesting is I had to make that internal shift. So you also have to check, where are you programmed? I mean, you talk about this so much, like what are the beliefs and biases you have, right? And they're always hidden. So my dad programmed me with, well, you have a weird job that no one's gonna like. So I had to break that and like completely own it and say like, you know what I do is really cool. And I think your community really like help with that actually, because, I've heard from so many of your members like, oh my gosh, your job is so cool. And I'm like, really? Like I kind of, cause you don't always get it from like your immediate friends. So I had to make that shift. And then I noticed, so cliche, but I noticed my dating patterns change, my reality changed until I met this guy. He was like, wait, what do you do? Okay, cool. And then just move on to like something else. Like he doesn't even like blink twice.
Oh
So
my gosh. So if anyone's out there worried about being misunderstood, too powerful, too successful, not feminine enough, whatever we tell ourselves, right? It's time to reframe because
yep.
every pot has a lid,
Yep. It's
doesn't it?
true. It's totally true. And he had the exact same experience as me. He was like, girls always thought my job was weird because he's a professional poker player. Yeah.
Wow.
So he deals with cards. I deal with cards. And the number one question that people always ask is like, you can make money with that? Because it seems like a degenerate career, right? Like a reader or like a poker player. And like people who are in it, like me or him, were like, you can actually, if you're
Yeah.
responsible.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
You can actually do pretty darn well.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's just like how you said there's a pot for every or lid for every pot, and also there's a million ways to make money. So just constantly reframing, constantly expanding. That's
And
important.
you know what? If you listening out there decide to go and get a reading from HeyJune, one of the things that you're going to love and appreciate about her, and that's something I really appreciate about you, is that I feel zero judgment from you. It's
Oh,
almost like when
yeah.
you're doing a reading, it's almost like it's coming through you, but not from you.
Right. That's a really good point. Yes. Yeah.
Zero judgment.
I'm a really big believer of like whatever's good or bad is just an opinion. Like truly, it's just an opinion. And there's also no right or wrong decision. Like you'll be okay no matter what you decide, no matter what you do. The key is to just have fun along the way, like no matter how painful the process is.
Well, and I saw you in one instance deliver some pretty bad news from the person's perspective,
Mm,
that you saw a relationship for them ending very definitively,
mm, mhm,
and they didn't see that. And so you
mm.
said, yeah, this relationship for you is going to end. And I remember looking at that person's face, and I could tell like they had not even considered that. So we should follow up and see how.
We should. I actually don't remember who this is, but I'm pretty sure, yeah, I give news like that all the time, so but, some people, when they hear news like that, they do whatever they can to change it, and something could birth from that. Maybe they confront their partner. Actually, my favorite case is, like, when people, like, take my reading back to their family or, like, whoever and say, like, "Hey, June told me this. You gotta do something about it." And I'm like, "That's kinda cool." Like, 'cause that moves energy too, transparency, directness, you know,
I That's incredible.
confrontation. So I don't have an ego attached to, like, okay, like, did this play out? Like, if it worked out good, great, you know?
Yeah. So talk to me about this year, because I have to say, you know, and I've talked to so many people in 2025 who have felt, and if I could label the year with a word, it would be on the good side of the spectrum, uncertainty.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
And if for those on the other side of the spectrum, shit show, chaos, complete like life inversion,
Yeah.
total decimation. Okay. So uncertainty on the left, all the way down the spectrum to like, what
Yeah.
happened?
Mhm.
So talk to me about, because we're right now in August of 2025. Talk to me about why that is for 2025, and how you would see that if you were kind of advising us listening between now and the end of the year and kind of rounding into 26.
Yes, a really good question. A couple of things happening. So there's, like, the macro level stuff, and then there's individual stuff. So I'm just gonna use you an example, if you don't mind, for some individual stuff. But for the macro stuff, we're in 2025, so that adds up to a 9. That is, like, the finale. That's, like, ending of a cycle, of the last 9-year cycle. And not only that, in Chinese numerology, there's a whole new 20-year period starting. So a lot of the old systems are kind of falling apart, and new ways of doing things are, like, being put into place. And I think people are underestimating how different their lives are going to look, just even starting next year. I mean, think about the pandemic. Like, think about now versus the pandemic. It was crazy, right? Like, we went through a giant quantum leap. It's insane. So I would say on a macro level, I think people that are feeling uneasy, what they're really feeling is just how quickly things are moving because the old systems are dying and new, much faster systems are coming in. And you can see this in babies too, like babies born like, since the pandemic and forward, they walk faster, they talk faster, they're operating at a much faster speed. The moms are freaking out. The nannies are freaking out. Like, ask any newborn mom, like they're really freaked out because it's not what they were taught about how babies are gonna like grow up, right? The pacing of it all. So I think a lot of the natural disasters and all that we're seeing is kind of like the manifestation of like, okay, just closing chapters and Earth kind of coping with the closing of the chapters. But let's talk about the more like interesting stuff, like on an individual level. So you're a Sagittarius rising. So every person has to look at their Pluto transit, Uranus transit, and Neptune transit. Astrologers will always overcomplicate things to you. They'll be like, oh my gosh, all these transits, all these like, triangles. It's like, doesn't matter. Just look at those 3 planets. And if you're a Sagittarius rising, you have Gemini descendant. So that is where Uranus is going through. So for every single person listening, like check your Gemini house. That's where Uranus is going through. Uranus is like the disruptor, the innovative, the chaos creator. So if you see sudden changes, check your Gemini house. If you are feeling confused about something, check your Aries house. Right now, there's a crisis in masculinity because Neptune's entered Aries. Aries rules a masculine. So that for the next 12 years, men are going to be very confused about their roles in our society as women become more ambitious and more successful. So yeah, check your Aries house if if you're feeling confused about like finances or relationship, there's a really good chance Neptune enter that. So actually, this is for Libra risings. If you're a Libra rising, I'll be very careful about who you start dating because you're going to start putting him or her on a pedestal.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. You're going through Uranus in the seventh house. The Libras are going through Neptune in their seventh house. And the Leo risings are going through Pluto in their seventh house. I noticed I said seventh house 3 times, but different planets because they're taking on different flavors. So for you, Uranus is like sudden change. Neptune is like confusion. And Pluto is actually a pretty scary one. Pluto is like the destruction. So if you look at Cancer risings, Angelina Jolie is a Cancer rising. She had this transit, Pluto go through her seventh house in the last 20 years. And she had that really public divorce with Brad Pitt, right? So that was like a 10-year legal battle. So I would always tell people to check right now because this is all happening this year. Like it started this year, March, April. The Uranus thing happened in June, July. And this will go into effect for the next 10 to 20 years. So
So Pluto in the seventh house is for 10 years?
that's 20 years for Leo risings.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. Coming back to the whole hunch thing, right? Like you'll know if you're a Leo rising and let's just say you're getting married in the next few years to someone that you've been with for a long time, you will know on a gut level that maybe that's not the right move.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think again, going back to the individual, the micro stuff, people are freaking out because we're all feeling this Pluto transit, Neptune transit, Uranus transit that shifted cycles this year. And it's hitting all of us in our Gemini house, Aries house, and Aquarius house. So I know it sounds like a lot, but if people just understand those 3 houses and those 3 planets, like they can guess what their life's going to play out like and prepare for that accordingly. If you have Neptune going through your money houses, yeah, I hope you have a good CPA and I hope you have a good attorney, someone who can like read through the fine prints for you. If you have Neptune going through your relationship houses, I hope you have really good friends who can tell you very clearly, like, hey, he's kind of like this, like, don't put him on a pedestal, right? So depending on which house it's going through, just have a good like support system to lean on.
So, hey, June, when you look at this, like, had I known this going into January, February, March, I don't know if I could have done ththings differently because I feel like
Right.
I'm in the middle of the roller coaster that keeps on going, which has no stop. Whenever you're on a roller coaster, can tell the platform's coming and you're like, thank God they're going to let me off. I get to get out. Like, I feel like this is the roller coaster that has no stop. So, how long will this last in my case? And then
Yep.
what would you say to do in the hanging on time?
Yep. That's a really great question. And that's the best question I think someone should ask. People get really derailed by like, how do I save this current? No. Work with it, Your Uranus transit, and everyone's going through this. Everybody has a Uranus transit. Uranus lasts about 8 years. It's going to be in your marriage/business house for the next 8 years. For the Uranus transit, like I said, the higher octave is like innovation. It's like the genius planet, but it like disrupts the status quo. So the work that you have to do in your relationship in that one-on-one, contract house is to be more open to working with people that may not always think like you, that might be a little bit like weird or cuckoo, like they're not very traditional, but they might like introduce you to interesting people or ideas or projects. So this is actually more about you like opening up to new ideas, relationship-wise.
Hmm.
Yeah. And by the way, I've seen people get married during a Uranus transit. So it's like, it's not about like, oh, like it's not going to happen or that's not going to happen. No, it's more about like, how can you become more Uranian during this time?
Mhm.
So that's the Uranus transit. That'll be about 8 years. And then you have the Aries Neptune transit going through your 5th house for the next 12 years. Again, everyone's going through this. So for that, I actually really like this transit. This is about how creative can you be? It also rules the house of children. So doing creative things with your children, really enriching your house of fun, right? Like how do you have fun? Like how do you make art? How do you create art? It's like it's time to like explore those themes and channel all that Neptunian energy into what you can create rather than seeing someone else through rose-colored glasses, because that's the lower octave of it.
That makes so much sense.
Really?
Yeah, there's something very freeing because I'll tell you, one of the things that disruption does, and I don't know if those listening really understand until you're in it, but one of the things it does is it helps you get clarity about what you will and what you do not want in your life. What I do want, who I want, what feels good. Because what happens when you have uncertainty is you can't rely on your head anymore. You have to rely on your intuition and on your heart because no longer can you trust what's coming in on the head side. It
Mm,
feels like you have to first instinctually feel out what's happening. And then you say, yes, I want it. I want more of this, or no, I'm done with this part of my life, or I'm done with this type of way of being. And in my case, and specifically, it's been really incredible in me getting clear and then being very direct and
yeah.
doing it from a place of confidence and power. No more grovel, no grovel allowed,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
Because there is the side of, I think, me and others, even in prayer, you can enter prayer with this idea of like, please, may I have this
Mm,
idea of, kind of like grovel or like,
yeah.
would you be kind enough to give this to me? Rather than having the energetic momentum of, I want this
Yep.
and it's divinely purposed, and I'm stepping into it with myself and my power, my voice. I'm activating it and I'm
Yep.
standing with clarity.
Right. It goes back to you could totally reframe it in your own head and ask yourself, is this empowering or disempowering? And you can choose the empowering route.
Completely. Or I say to myself, when I'm in dialogue with this person or on this deal, do I feel contraction or do I feel expansion?
Mm-hmm.
Because when I feel expansion, I know I feel like when I'm in that moment, that's when my greatest opportunities come. That's
Mm-hmm.
when my biggest leaps of faith happen. That's when I step into the unknown and it's always better on the other side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. But when I'm sitting in darkness and fear and constriction, I'm contracted and I'm feeling like I'm barely getting space to figure it out. I come at it with a real low vibration, almost
Mm-hmm.
like the grovel. I think that's the way I think about it.
Yeah. For sure. And it also depends on like your childhood, right? Your upbringing, like how you were shaped. Because maybe your default setting is the grovel. Maybe that's how you were trained to get what you're asking for. So that is an interesting thing that you're bringing up because these transits also reveal our coping mechanism and how we were conditioned to show up when we were afraid or when we felt like our needs were not going to get met. It's really cool that you're pointing that out because it's like, yeah, like pay attention to how you're responding when these things happen in your life because that's
Yeah.
probably coming up so that you can heal it and change it.
Yeah. I just feel like this year in particular, I've just watched exponential growth within myself and then my community of women and the people I spend time with. I'm watching it across the board and it's blowing my mind.
Mhm.
So if someone wants to reach you, hey June, like in as we close or wrap up, if someone's thinking or on the fence and saying, I want to get involved, I want to follow her, I want to learn more about what she does and how she does it, where should they go in and follow you?
My handle is Pheydrus official across all platforms like Instagram, TikTok, maybe even YouTube. So you can follow me there. So I don't offer readings like I used to. It's just got out of control. Like now I actually like teach classes. But if people did have like a quick question, they can always submit a question, just ask one, and then you fill out your question and then you give your birth information and then we get back to you in 72 hours. Unless you want to have a call, then we'll assess whether or not you should have a call with us.
And can you spell your handle so everyone can look it up?
Yes, Pheydrus official.
Thank you. Well, incredible. Anything else you want to remind us of, or say, look out for, or anything that comes on your radar that you want to leave us with?
Yes, I would say check those transits, your Aries house, Gemini house, and Aquarius house. Just if you take away anything from the astro part, check that. And also just check out your address, at least add
Oof.
numbers, and
Okay.
see how that sits with you, because that could actually impact your money in your relationship. So, and I would also say that now's a really good time to start thinking really bigger, because things will only get faster and faster and faster. So dream big, because you don't want to hold yourself back while the world is like rushing ahead.
Dream big. Am I dreaming big enough is literally on my Instagram page as one of my first questions to myself. Am I playing big enough? Am I dreaming big enough? And am I thinking big enough?
Hmm.
And I think that's such good advice to each of us,
Yeah.
because it's incredibly easy to get caught up in the minutia or looking at something with detail and thinking that's your whole world. And then all of a sudden you get on an airplane and you fly to another country and you land and you look at how everybody else is living in the world and you think, I was never thinking big enough. I was thinking so small. I was looking
Hmm.
at my tiny little spot on the globe, and I could be thinking so much bigger. So
Hmm.
that's great, great advice.
Something I need to take for myself too. So yeah.
All of us, it's all the time. Well, hey,
Hmm.
June, thank you so much for sharing, and I appreciate you so, so much. And we will see you very soon.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun. Thank you.